Therapy Thursdays give us an opportunity to talk with some friends about real things that are happening in our lives. And a lot of these are really close to home, even for me. So this is an opportunity. I hope that you'll get some more information out of this. And we turn to some incredible experts here, including Jacqueline from New Insights LLC. Jacqueline, how are you?
Hey there, Matt. I'm doing great.
Good. This is such a great opportunity, again, like I said, to really make real life things come to fruition, talk about them a little bit, and talk a little bit more about what you're able to help out with. Now, before we jump into this, we're talking about Therapy Thursdays, and sometimes people hear the word therapy. Before we jump into that, it's such an interesting thing when people can have like a scent like eucalyptus and oh, that's so therapeutic. It's so great. But then somebody says therapy and they're like, ah, no. And we want to break that stigma because therapy is such a great thing. It's a positive thing and it's for self improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me just a quick synopsis about therapy in the way that New Insights LLC looks at it.
Mm-hmm. So we are really trying to get people support in areas of their life that maybe they've never been in this area of life before. One of the topics we're going to talk about today is even blending families. And so joining families, new adults joining, established families and new kids. But if you've never done it before, then how can you know how to do it? We can read books, we can talk to people, but we really need to get that unbiased feedback from someone about what's going on specifically in our life. This is a great place to do that. It doesn't have to be a disorder. It doesn't have to be, a major thing, but even those little adjustments in life or even major adjustments in life, when we can really talk through and process what's going on, that really kind of can help prevent it from becoming an actual issue or a big issue. So, we call ourselves mental wellness, New Insights for Mental Wellness. So hopefully we're helping people with those adjustments before they become big issues.
Yeah. And here's a couple of points that I'm going to say about that too is, it is something where we, in the day and age that we live in, have so many things that are constantly bombarding us, constantly going in. We have so many things that are on our mind that having somebody to kind of talk about things, work things or personal things, life things is such a good positive thing. And I will also throw in there too that one of my very best friends, who is the most successful person I know, and I've mentioned this on the radio too, he has a therapist of his own in Madison that he goes and works through. And it is one of those things that it's a common theme for successful people in work and personal. They have a therapist that they talk to. So just want to break that stigma a little bit more as much as we can here in the short amount of time that we have. But we discussed that it's for bettering ourselves, but in our situation today, it's bettering the family. And being a blended family is not an easy thing to do, especially when, there are, when the kids, will say, are a little bit older and have a family that they were used to, and now the family dynamic has changed, especially for them. But talk to me a little bit more, I guess, about this blended family standpoint, because I know I've got my own personal experiences with this. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more.
Yeah. So what we're really talking about is when we're adding a whole person to the family, when we're adding, whether they're moving in or even just becoming a part of the dynamic of the family life, when we're adding a whole person, it really can change the dynamics of everything that's going on in the house. And hopefully it's going to change it for a positive. Even if there wasn't anything wrong before, the idea is that it's going to enhance, and that's why we're doing it. But, I think it's important to recognize that, you have a union of two adults that's happening, but you're also having, different relationships are forming between the new adult in the family unit and each of the children. and it's going to be different. And so a lot of times, we question, is it me? Is it them? What's allowed? What's not allowed? And, the new adult is trying to figure out what is their role? What is their place? The adult that has been there doing the work is trying to figure out, where do I make room for this person? What's my role? What am I giving up? And so it can be a lot bigger than people realize. And so there's so much conversation that really needs to happen, and over and over and over, because the family dynamics keep changing. Remember, these kids have never been this age before. You've never done this before. And even if you've tried to blend a family before, you've not done it with this person before. And so it's important to keep having these conversations over and over as the dynamics change, as the kids get older, as the stresses change, as you and your partner grow together. Everything is kind of always changing. So it's important to have these conversations in the beginning, and also just to continue to have these conversations.
I think that there are so many hoops that you just delivered there, and some that we haven't even
There's
talked
a lot
about.
to unpack with this one.
There is, and having the conversation and being somebody who maybe is not a parent going into a blended family, understanding that their periscope of parenting is focused in solely on the way they were raised, and what's right, what's wrong, that kind of stuff, but learning things like patience and learning that stuff. And again, I'm still somebody who's working on all of these things too, and trying to fit a way into being in that role. The other thing that is a difficult transition too is, again, you're removing one parent from that household as a full-time caretaker, to now sending a child to that parent who has their own parenting style on their own, and then having them come back to the way this new dynamic is set up to, and how difficult that is. So as we are talking about this and focusing on maybe even the kids a little bit more, what are some things that you find beneficial, we'll say, for parents to have as a conversation with the kids?
Yeah, I think it's really important to have a conversation about who each child is, because parenting is about so much more than what I believe that parenting should be. It's so much more about, who is this kid and what does this kid need? Some kids need more structure and some kids need more freedom. Some kids are more artistic and some kids are more lineal and math and sports. And so really, who is this kid, so that we're not trying to turn kids into who we want them to be. We're trying to turn them into who they are as productive members of society, who are able to really be happy and content and solid in themselves, and then solid in the community with who they are as people. I think a lot of times, especially before we're parents, we have ideas about what we're going to be like when we're a parent, and what we're going to allow and what we're not going to allow. And then when we really get into it, we realize there's so much more to it. And it's a lot about who that kid is. And I think even when you're blending families, depending on the age, younger children tend to, not always, but tend to be a little bit more accepting of a new adult versus older children. Older children, they have kind of figured out their routine. They know how to get along. They know their role in the family. They know how to get their needs met. They know where to go. And suddenly all of that is being changed up on them. And so really just, it's okay if they're not okay. It's okay if they're unhappy. It's okay if they're figuring it out. And really just not telling them that they should or shouldn't feel or think a thing, just recognizing and even asking them, and listening, what do you think? What do you feel? How, what are your thoughts? So older children sometimes have a harder time with it. Younger children have an easier time. And so especially even as the new adult, not being offended by whether children are having an easy or hard time, but really just kind of letting them figure out for themselves, while also having conversations with them about what they can expect from you. And if you don't know, just say, I don't know. We're all figuring this out as we go. And that is a really, really great answer, because it just lets the kid know that you're human, and there's room for their opinion too, and even in that case.
Yeah, I think relating that to with the older kids as an example, that are trying to teach an old dog new tricks is kind of a rough way to say this, right?
Yes.
They have their expectations. They've lived enough life to be able to formulate their own opinions and all of this stuff, and it makes it difficult. But one of those things that you said too is not being offended. And one of the phrases that gets said, especially in blended families at some point or another, is "you're not my dad" or "you're not my mom." Those are real things that happen. And in those situations, again, we have to make sure that we understand, as a blended family or whoever's in this position, that that's something that can be considered normal. Sometimes they just need their biological parent and want to talk to them, right?
Yeah. I think, and especially, I love that you brought that up, because that statement, there's two reasons that kids make that statement. And the biggest reason they make that statement is they're suddenly finding themselves grasping for power. It really is a matter of feeling, that kid feeling like they don't have power and you don't get to be the one to make decisions for me. So you want to be really careful how you respond to that question, that you're not getting roped into a power struggle.
I think that's good, because that doesn't go anywhere positive, we'll say.
Yeah.
Right.
And especially if you do get that statement, don't get offended. Don't, just acknowledge, you know what? That's true. And what comes next is really individual and depending on the situation and the kid. But just acknowledge, that's true. And without defense, without accusation, without, pushing back, I'm not your parent, but
yeah.
They're just recognizing that they're really just pushing for power. And that's what kids do. Actually, kids are supposed to push the boundaries. Don't get offended when kids are pushing boundaries. How else do they know where the boundaries are?
And it's learning. They're always learning, right?
When it comes to parenting, I always like to give the example of a roller coaster, but not the way that you would think, not the ups and downs. Matt, if you think about a roller coaster, what is the first thing that you do when you get on a roller coaster?
Usually I pray, and I'm just kidding. You put a safety belt on, you put a harness on, right?
Yes. And then what?
And then you check everybody else.
Not ready for it. No, right. Yeah. Well, usually you kind of shake the bar, right? You pull the bar down and you shake the bar. Are you wanting that bar to move?
Not at all.
Okay, here's the deal, Matt. As the parent, you are the bar.
Oh, wow. You just kind of blew my mind.
The kid is going to shake the bar because to figure out, when he sets a boundary, does he really mean it? When he says no, does no mean no, or does no mean ask me 3 more times?
Right.
And so not getting offended when they're pushing that boundary, because when you get offended, that's how you get roped into a power struggle.
Very true. This is all great information. And I know that I have learned a lot already during this conversation. I know that there's plenty more to cover. And again, self-admittedly, as a step parent role myself, I'm always learning. It's always learning. It's always changing. And I'm grateful for this. So if somebody hears this and says, you know what, we're in a blended family, we could definitely use a little bit of support and somebody to help guide us a little bit more with information. How do we get a hold of you to be able to make an appointment with New Insights?
Yep. So just give me a call. You can give me a call, or even actually text message if you like, 693255056. We can do a 15-minute consultation free, just to see if it's going to be a good fit and meet your needs and all of the things. And then from there, we go on and schedule a full intake where we really kind of dig in and ask and learn about what are all the details and dynamics of everything going on. And then we get going from there to figure out how to get everybody's needs met.
Excellent.
We can do it on-site or by phone.
And I have to say, again, the fact that you make it so convenient where there is the opportunity for a virtual meeting or a phone call doesn't mean you have to be in the direct vicinity of New Insights. Maybe you're in Germany. You're like, this sounds great. I need to talk to Jacqueline. We can make it happen, right?
Yep. Michigan or Indiana. That's where we're licensed.
All right. There you go. All right. Well, Jacqueline, I look forward to our next conversation. What's that?
Anywhere in Michigan or Indiana.
There you go. All right. It's perfect. Even the UP. even
Yes.
though it's, a different piece of land.
The
Anyways,
internet
all
works.
right. Jacqueline, look forward to our conversation next time for
Yes.
Therapy Thursdays. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Again, Therapy Thursdays with new Insights LLC with Southwest Michigan's 97.5 Y Country.